What if I told you that the most influential man in human history has secrets hidden in ancient texts, forgotten scrolls, and dusty corners of archaeology? A man who flipped empires, rewired morality, and inspired billions. Yet much of his life remains wrapped in mystery, lost in translation, or erased by time. This isn't a sermon. This is history. Shocking, human, real. These are facts about Jesus Christ you probably never heard in church. Jesus probably didn't look like you think you've seen the paintings. Blue eyes, soft features, glowing hair like a Middle Eastern Brad Pitt. But historically, that's Hollywood Jesus. Real first-century Jewish men had brown or olive skin, dark brown eyes, thick, coarse black hair, rough hands from labor, a short beard, not a silky movie beard. He likely stood around 5 feet 5 inches, not tall and majestic like Renaissance art. In 2001, forensic anthropologists used skulls from ancient Judea to model his possible face. The result? Broad nose, dark complexion, rugged features. A laborer, not a catalogue model. It shocked people, but it made him real. A man who walked dusty Roman roads, not marble halls. Jesus was more than a carpenter. The Bible calls him a tekton. We translate it as carpenter. But the Greek word doesn't mean woodworker specifically. It means builder, craftsman, mason. Think about that. Jesus may have shaped stone, constructed houses, repaired tools, worked on Roman-era construction projects. He wasn't a soft-spoken philosopher sitting under fig trees all day. He was physically strong, sun-beaten, calloused, a working-class craftsman from Nazareth. In other words, Jesus wasn't fragile. He was tough, the kind of man who could flip tables in a temple, and mean it. Jesus grew up in a rough neighborhood. Nazareth today is a bustling town. But in Jesus' time, it was tiny, maybe 300 people. A poor village near Roman military centers. A place with tension, poverty, and political unrest. This explains why people scoffed at him. Can anything good come from Nazareth? It wasn't a holy city. It wasn't elite. It was working class, overlooked, and underestimated. Jesus didn't rise from power. He rose from the margins. And that's part of what made him revolutionary. Jesus was multilingual, more than you think. Many imagine him speaking only Aramaic. He did, but that's not all. Historical linguists suggest he likely knew Aramaic, daily language; Hebrew, for scripture and synagogue debates; Greek, the language of commerce plus government; possibly basic Latin, for Roman interaction. He wasn't just spiritual, he was intellectually sharp, adaptable, and educated enough to debate priests, scholars, and governors. Jesus wasn't a simple village man. He was a master communicator who could speak to anyone: fishermen, scholars, soldiers, or kings. Jesus lived in a violent, rebellious era. Jesus' world wasn't peaceful candles and harp music. It was political chaos, Roman occupation, revolts, public executions, heavy taxation, terror groups like the Zealots stirring rebellion. Crucifixion was so common, Romans lined roads with crosses as warnings. Into that world walks Jesus, preaching love, mercy, and forgiveness. That wasn't gentle spirituality. It was civil resistance, radical, dangerous. And Rome noticed, Jesus didn't start as a priest. He started as a movement. He had no army, no political office, no wealth, no temple authority. And yet, he drew crowds larger than government gatherings. He healed, taught, challenged elites, uplifted the poor, and welcomed outsiders. He turned fishermen into apostles and tax collectors into followers. Jesus didn't build an institution first. He built a revolution of hearts and minds, a grassroots movement. That's why Rome feared him more than they feared military rebels. Ideas are harder to kill than armies. Before Jesus, worship was distant and formal. People prayed with titles like Lord of Hosts Almighty. Most High Jesus changed everything with one word: Abba, not Father, but Dad. Papa, my Father. It was intimate, bold, personal. He didn't teach people to fear God. He taught them they belonged to God. Faith became relationship, not ritual. Love, not distance. That single word reshaped spirituality forever. We picture Jesus teaching for decades, but his public ministry? About 3 years. In 3 years, he healed the sick, challenged religious authority, drew massive crowds, inspired devotion, threatened powerful leaders, and launched a movement that survived the fall of empires and reshaped human history. Greatness isn't measured in time, it's measured in impact, and his still echoes across centuries. We often picture Jesus as completely destitute, but historical context paints a more nuanced picture. He was a carpenter, a skilled and respected trade. He had wealthy supporters. He had a treasurer. Judas carried the money bag. His group travelled, hosted meals, and helped others. He didn't live in luxury, but he wasn't powerless or forgotten. He lived simply by choice, not by force. His message wasn't against wealth, it was against dependence on wealth. Yes, Jesus had siblings, and one, James, became a central figure after Jesus' death. Ancient writers called him James the Just. He wasn't writing fame. He sincerely believed, so deeply that he died for it. Faith didn't stop with Jesus. It ran in the family. Crucifixion wasn't just execution. It was humiliation designed to erase a person from history. Rome didn't kill him quietly. They made him a public warning. Yet the very symbol meant to break him became the most famous symbol of hope in the world. The cross was supposed to end his story. Instead, it became the beginning. Most crucified criminals were dumped in unmarked pits. Jesus was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy follower. Even in death, he was honored, not erased. Empires choose who matters in life. History chooses who matters forever. And today, we remember his tomb, not Caesar's palace. Philosophers, kings, generals, they all wrote to preserve their legacy. Jesus didn't write a single word, yet more books have been written about him than any person who ever lived. His legacy isn't carved in stone, it's carved in hearts. The greatest messages are not always written. Sometimes they are lived. Jesus wasn't a military leader. He didn't raise soldiers. He didn't call for violence. He fought oppression with truth. He confronted power with courage. He lifted the weak without force. Empires rise through fear. His kingdom rose through freedom. No weapon, no army, just a message, and a life impossible to ignore. Whether you see him as teacher, prophet, Messiah, or a mystery beyond comprehension, one thing is undeniable. A humble carpenter reshaped time, culture, morality, and the human spirit. No wealth, no throne, no army. Just truth, love, courage, and a message still changing lives today. Love over power. Forgiveness over vengeance. Hope over fear. He didn't just change the world. He showed us how to change ourselves.